attendance. Supervisors Fisher, Gizio, Fleer, Cassiola, and Sabatic are in attendance, as well as our township manager, our township assistant manager, who will be back up, our chief of police, Sean Bukovinsky. Just to get things going, we're going to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chairman Fisher, I noticed our attorney, Gretchen Moore, is
Ms.
not
Cohen,
here.
if you could be seated, I'm going to read a little statement and then we'll take
Well, I was
any
just
comment.
curious why she wasn't here, because last
Ms.
meeting
Cohen.
she was going to be here
Ms.
to
Cohen,
talk
please
about
be
the
seated,
ordinance.
and as soon as I'm done, we will.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Please be seated, and as soon as I read this, we will go through.
Then I will be allowed to speak?
Public comment will be accepted at that point, yes.
Okay.
Thank you for coming this evening to the public workshop. Before we begin, I want to lay some ground rules for how this meeting will be run. First, we will consider the public comment for changes to our International Fire Code, and as well as our sections to the Unified Development Ordinance pertaining to work hours. Finally, we will open public comment on our oil and gas ordinance. As you can see, there are a lot of people in attendance tonight, and in order to be fair to township residents, public comment on our oil and gas ordinance will be limited first to Cecil Township residents. After all township residents have had an opportunity to be heard, we will then open comments to parents of children who will attend or have attended Cannon schools that are located inside Cecil Township. After those individuals have had time to speak, I will allow other individuals outside of township to be heard if time allows. The board will allow public comment tonight until 10 p.m. Address all your comments to the board and not to the audience or individual audience members or groups of people. As there are a lot of people in attendance and there is a limited amount of time to speak, we ask that you be respectful of your fellow residents and make your point as quickly as possible. The board wants to allow as many people the opportunity to speak this evening as possible. The board reserves the right to ask anyone speaking to wrap up their comments at any point. If at any point during this meeting anyone is raising their voice, speaking out of turn, being disrespectful, or generally causing problems, you will be asked to sit down and/or asked to leave the building. No changes will be made or voted on this evening. This meeting is simply to hear what our residents have to say. Tonight is only for public comment. Do not expect the board to answer specific questions. Do not expect the solicitor to answer specific questions. We are here to listen to you, our residents. If there is any change to the oil and gas ordinance in the future, understand that this does not apply to any previously approved well pads, as previous approvals are grandfathered under our current ordinance. If there is a change to the oil and gas ordinance in the future, the board would follow all required processes, including advertisements and hearings on any specific ordinance changes, and the public would have another opportunity to be heard. So very quickly, as I'm guessing none of you are here for this, I want to first open up anybody who wants to have public comment on the fire code ordinance or sections of the Unified Development Ordinance pertaining to work hours. Don't everyone run to the microphone. Okay, since there's not, we are going to move on to comments about our oil and gas ordinance. I ask this, we don't have a sign-in sheet, so please just step to the microphone. I'm going to ask you to state your name and address for the record. That's simply so that we know who you are and where you live. And I'm going to ask you to limit your comments to a reasonable amount of time. I'm sure there's a lot of people here that want to be heard. Who wants to be first?
Yeah.
Cindy, could I ask a question without having to go to the podium, please?
I'm going to still ask that you speak into the microphone. Go ahead.
Okay.
My name is Diane Richmond Alora. I live in 4000.
Go ahead, Anna.
Oh, did you want me to? My question to you, Chairman Fisher, was why is Gretchen, our attorney, Gretchen Moore, not here?
Jack, can you make sure that?
It's not on? Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm concerned why Gretchen Moore, our attorney, because the last meeting, she said to us that she would do some research and review the oil and gas fire code and work on Sunday and report her findings to us. So she's not here tonight. So my question is, why is Gretchen Moore not here?
So as I said at first, this is for us to listen to you. There will be a meeting where Gretchen is available to answer any questions. She has provided to this board summaries that we have received and had the opportunity to read on all 3 ordinances. We have them, I have mine here. And this is Jordan. He is from her, you want to introduce yourself?
And it wasn't anything personal against you, sir, either.
Oh, that's okay. We've
It
never
was not
met.
meant personally. I'm sure you've heard worse, huh?
I have heard
Yeah,
worse. My name is Jordan Strasburger. I'm an attorney. Gretchen and I are partners at the law firm of Strasburger, Mechanic, Kangevsky, and she had a conflict this evening, make it impossible for her to be here. So I'm here in her stead. I'm here to listen to your comment.
Wait, Dawn, I read an email from you that Gretchen said that she was told not to be here. I didn't think about a conflict.
No, it was a conflict. She couldn't make it. She couldn't make it.
Can't hear you.
The email said she said that they don't know wanting to attend, right? Who didn't want her to attend?
She had questioned whether the board wanted her to attend or not, and then she told me that it didn't matter because she said, I have a conflict anyway.
And here, I'll read the email. Okay, we're not going to get into this, but I will tell you that she had advised the board that at this point, this is a process. She did not feel that it was necessary, to which I agreed, for her to be here during the public comment section. There will be, we are not going to, if we even make any changes, we are not making these changes tonight, we are not making them overnight. There will be a meeting in which she presents her findings, there will be board discussion at that point, and we can move on. This meeting is only so the residents, so you as residents have an opportunity to present how you feel to us. We would be here for 7 hours if we did everything in one meeting. That's all this is.
So if I understand you correct, Gretchen will be at our next board meeting to answer these questions?
I'm not committing that she will be there to answer our questions. She actually will not be at our next board meeting.
Well, at what point in time will we get this?
There will be a point in time where our solicitor, Gretchen Moore, will be available to answer questions. Having said that, I have the utmost confidence in Mr. Strasburger, who's sitting right here, that if we...
Pretty decent attorney.
that if we have a concern or something that needs to be sorted out, that he can answer it, okay?
You know, it's not that I'm questioning your ability as an
I know you are,
attorney.
yeah.
It's just that Gretchen had supposedly done the review and the research, and we
have
wanted
that.
answers.
And we'll find out from Gretchen why she wrote that.
Right, we will be here. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I apologize.
Again, my name is Diane Ritz-Nicolala, 4004 Sir James Drive in Windsor Woods. From the Environmental Health Project, I have some information that I'd like to pass on to you, and Lisa will give you so that you can read it along with me, and you'll have it so that you can ingest it while you're making your decisions. All shale gas infrastructure emits toxins into the ambient air. These toxins dissipate as they travel further from the source, but may be concentrated in the vicinity of the source or travel as a plume with wind or air movement. It is therefore important to establish a setback distance between the shale gas and infrastructure in buildings occupied by people or locations where people gather, like playgrounds, parks, and community centers. Current established state setbacks do not take public health into account. Special consideration in the form of greater setback should be in place for high occupancy buildings that house vulnerable populations and or are difficult to evacuate, such as schools, daycare hospitals, nursing homes, or neighborhoods with only one egress for 200 families, which is what Windsor Woods is, where we live. It's vital to know the plan of the full build-out of the shale gas infrastructure in your community, because when the Pennsylvania DEP permits shale gas infrastructure, it does not take into account aggregate air emissions. This is particularly important in southwest Pennsylvania, as the topography is very hilly. Polluted air settles and concentrates as the air cools, such as in the evening. This is made much worse when air inversions, which are now occurring more frequently, and if you live in an area with multiple well pads and or compression stations, a processing plant, and combined emissions from multiple sources, it may result in higher unhealthy exposures. Windsor Woods does have lower streets where a lot of single-family homes with children live. Over time, these exposures may cause long-term health problems. Keep in mind also that shale gas operators can enlarge compressors and processing plants. These can both become super emitters, high-volume polluters, even if they were not at the start. It is important to learn in advance where these are going to be located and if there are any long-term plans to increase the size or capacity. Number 3, ground level ozone is a serious problem in areas of shale gas development. When emissions combine with sunlight, ground level ozone affects lung health and aggravates asthma, potentially causing damage to lung tissue. Controlling or limiting the emissions from the infrastructure should include frequent inspections to make sure the equipment is operating properly, and it's essential. Shale gas development waste is another serious concern. Presently, it is exempt from federal environmental legislation, so that it is highly toxic. It contains radionuclides. It can be transported and disposed of as residual waste, not toxic waste, in the form of liquids, sludge, and solids. Toxins in the waste can be carried by water, as it is the transport methods which is most commonly used in the fracking process. The waste potentially has been exposed to chemicals used in fracking and contains salts, which are brine, radioactive materials, inorganic and organic compounds, and various gases that are present in the shale. Because the waste is toxic, it should be handled as such to protect public health. It may contain radium-226 and 228, which are present in the shale. Radium-226 is an alpha emitter, water-soluble, and a serious risk if ingested or inhaled, such as dust. Once ingested and inhaled, radium is treated by the body as if it is calcium, and it's stored in the bones. Shale gas waste, which is relabeled as brine, should never be used to de-ice or suppress dust on roads. This causes radium to collect in the environment. It can then wash into waterways and become airborne when the road dries. Endocrine disturbing chemicals are present in shale gas emissions and waste and are a serious health concern. The endocrine system determines how hormones function in the body. They regulate growth, development of children, reproduction, and aging. Most vulnerable are the feces and developing children. Endocrine disturbing chemicals can block and substitute for chemicals the body is expecting, causing long-term health impacts. This is why it's vital to regulate and control emissions from shale gas infrastructure and monitor where and how waste is transported and disposed. Since water is a major required resource for this industry, it's important to consider local rules pertaining to the water withdrawals from surface waters and municipal supplies. Can the trucks carry fresh water and waste on different trips? Are the lines used to collect water from surface waters required to be cleaned from contamination? And note that pipes, trucks, and other equipment may have built up layers of radioactive scale from transporting shale gas and shale gas waste. Emergency responders are in risk for responding to accidents involving shale gas development, infrastructure, and transportation. Many of the chemicals used in the process or in the waste can become airborne and can be absorbed through the skin. In addition, waste and chemicals being hauled to and from shale gas sites can spill or leak and can be otherwise released into the environment in the event of an accident. Emergency responders should be trained in the knowledge of what chemicals they have encountered and in what procedures to follow to decontaminate themselves and their equipment before returning home, where they may pass along the contaminants to family members.